Hi, everybody. Welcome. I'm Susan. This is Andrea.
Hello.
And we're diving into what we call Geek Camp today. Today we're talking about video services, though, video hosting services, because
Okay.
go ahead.
Sorry. I
Speak your
just
mind.
noticed. No. This has nothing to do. I just noticed. So I have this mug, right, which is obnoxiously huge, right? And I'm like, oh
Love
no,
it.
this is like the worst mug ever for lives because when I drink, my whole face is taken up. Oh man. Okay, I'm sorry. Keep going. I'm with you.
I love it, though. How funny. It's like your entire face. It's like those
Ridiculous.
giant wine glasses that you see on videos.
You know you have a coffee problem when.
Funny, hilarious. Okay, so first of all, tell us if you're here, say hello. We will keep an eye on comments, but we're going to be doing a comparison between video hosting services because we keep getting these questions of like, do I use YouTube? Do I use ClickFunnels? Do I just upload it to ClickFunnels 2.0? Do I use Wistia or Vimeo or whatever, right? So we're going to compare all of the ones that we have used, which I'm pretty sure are all the ones I just named, and plus Voomly, which is now owned by Russell Brunson and ClickFunnels. So we're going to talk about all that, and then hopefully it'll help you know which one is best for you. So let us know. Let us know in the comments, what are you currently using, and do you like it, and why do you like it? Let us know, because we want to learn from you and know your opinions on it as well. So
yeah. And I think it's really good. I mean, we say it a lot on the Geek Out, but I think our philosophy on tech is that we don't believe you should be willy-nilly about changing tech all the time, because I think at the end of the day, technology is really just a constraint that you and your innovation and your creativity have to make bend to your will, right? If you really want to deliver the experience that you're intending to deliver. And so the only way that you do that is you actually have to understand the technology a little bit more deeper than surface level in order to make it do that. So you'll see here on Geek Out, we really don't like jump ship on technology. Once, we'll do our due diligence to really try to understand and vet a particular piece of software. And then it takes a lot for us to abandon it. Once we're like, okay, we're all in, this is the best possible decision, let's make it work. And the reason I say that is two things. One, because we believe that if you understand the tech, you can actually make it bend to your will or know how you can work with it in order to accomplish your vision. But I think two, in this day and age of software where we're so easy to like put the problems onto the piece of software, I think what that does to people is it exacerbates the tech overwhelm and the like, I hate this piece of technology. The technology is the problem. When really, you guys, the technology is actually not usually the problem. It's because you don't know how to use the tech, you're not willing to invest the time to understand the tech, or you've picked the wrong tech for you and you don't know what else is out there that's better for you. That's at least from my experience. Now, don't get me wrong. Tech can be a nightmare, and you have to be able to navigate it and massage it and work with it and learn and grow with it. But tech is also dumb. Like, it's only as good as the vision that you have for it. Right. So anyway, I'll get off the soapbox, but there's tons of different video software out there. So our recommendations today are based off of, and I'll have some criteria on the things that we think are really important when you're bringing a piece of technology home for adoption for the foreseeable future until you are not ready to adopt it anymore.
Yeah. We've gone through a few of those lately of, this is what we recommend, and then it just is not working. So we got to go out and research and figure it out, and then we find another solution. We'll bring that to you and tell you why we chose it. So
yeah. The most recent one, right, is, and then we'll get on with it. Most recent one is, I've used Just Call for a really long time. It came to me as a recommendation from a very trusted source. It served us so well for a good solid 2 years, really happy with it. And then all of a sudden, ActiveCampaign updated their APIs. They didn't. And there seems to be a perpetual problem. And it's like, you launch enough big ones and you fail enough times and they're not making any concerted effort to fix it. That was our breaking point. We're like, gosh, I think we're going to have to abandon ship on Just Call. So thank you to Greg, who in the Funnel Builder certification program, after doing a ton of research on the options out there, he brought Sales Messenger. And so far, at least the early honeymoon stages, loving it. no problems, perfect sends, no issues, great feedback, all the same features, amazing. So anyway, yes, it is not with a quick decision, but that we make jumps, but when we do, they're very intentional.
I think there was a key thing that you said in there, and then yes, we'll move to the video stuff.
Yes.
They weren't making any sort of effort to try to fix the problem.
Yes.
And I think that's the key here is like, there's other things that we work with. And I'm not just talking about the obvious one here where there are problems, we have issues with it. And some people wonder like, well, why are you still using it? Like there's this other thing that can do that already. Well, because we know that like there's a reason why we use this thing and it does this really, really well. And we know that they're working to get the other parts right.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So. Yeah. And when we say that, like, we know they're working, like I was on 10 tech support calls with like 10 different reps, and like it was not we just left, right? Like I think we are very good about like the pulse of, is this company actively working towards this goal and towards this solution, right? Or not. So it's, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, let's dive into video stuff.
Let's dive in. Okay, so what was so funny is when I was prepping for this, I was like, okay, what are all the video platforms out there? So I typically go to like G2 or TechCrunch or Primal Video on YouTube. These are amazing resources if you're trying to understand the landscape of tech and what's out there. I think they do an incredible job of unbiased. One thing that I will warn you when you are analyzing tech is that, and I was a part of a lot of these companies where they'll have blogs. So like, for instance, I worked with a piece of software called UserZoom, and it's a user experience research platform. And part of our marketing strategy was we did create blogs where we would talk about competitors, but not in like a they're bad, we're good way. We would do it as a appearance of an evaluation of the tech, right? Mm-hmm. But I don't care which company you work at. If you're using one of those pieces of software, there is going to be a bias that comes through, right? So that's why I like the G2 and the Primal Video and the TechCrunch, just because they don't have any vetted interest in the decision you make on the technology. I'm sure they have affiliate deals and all of that stuff with the tech that they have on there, but it's a less biased place than like if you go to things like HubSpot or the actual competitive software blog. So just a word of warning, a lot of people don't know because it seems like it's a non-biased analysis, but in reality, it's not. So for instance, when you're looking at video platforms, don't go to Vimeo blog to try to understand the video platforms, right? And I know that seems so obvious to say, but when you're doing Google searches, if they've done a good enough job, you're going to land on some of these places and you might even not know that this is a blog done by Vimeo, right? So just a word of warning as you're trying to decide. Okay, good. Can you see my screen okay?
I can. It's video platforms.
Okay, cool.
Cute little robot.
Okay, so these are the ones we're going to talk about. So, and there are a ton out there, but these are the ones that we have direct experience with. And it's not just like we've got in there and just played a little bit. We've really tried to apply it or use it to some capacity. We've used it with clients, and we're even recommending it with clients in some cases. So these are the ones. Now, you'll see YouTube is like super tiny little over there in the corner because YouTube should be in your arsenal no matter what. We are huge advocates of YouTube as an organic traffic strategy. I'm a firm believer that you should be putting your content out on YouTube if you are any kind of deep expert. I think it has done more for us in Geek Out. Like, I'm a believer. I am 100% YouTube all the way. It's amazing. Do it. I also think that you'll see a lot of the speakers that Russell's bringing on, YouTube is their weapon of choice as well. So I love YouTube. It's a part of your arsenal. You're going to use it, but you don't use YouTube on sales pages, right? And you don't use YouTube on most of the time. If it is a paid course or learning experience, you're not going to use YouTube as your prime video for a lot of reasons. So I have it down there in the corner because we get the question asked a lot, like, why can't I just use YouTube? We're going to talk about it in more detail. And as we go through each one of these platforms, I think it's going to become really clear why you don't want to use YouTube for the purpose that we're talking about. But of course you have YouTube for your organic content and for some use cases of your videos. So kind of put a pin in YouTube. We're going to circle back to it at the end, but the 6 ones in the middle are the ones we're going to spend a lot of time on because these are the actual ones that you're making a decision around. Okay, so As you're analyzing the videos, there are, in these video platforms, there are the must-haves, and I bet you there's more on this list, but these were the first 3 that came to mind, and Susan, you probably have some more that we can add on here. And then there's the nice-to-haves, which are like, you don't have to have those in your business, but the must-haves are like, nope, like do not pass go, do not collect $200. They have to have these things. And you'll see right there, control the end and the redirect. In YouTube, while you can control the end screen, the whole goal of YouTube is to keep you on the platform. So eventually you might control the first next screen, could be one of yours, but you're not going to control the next one or the next one or the next one. And you have no ability to control that redirect. So the worst possible scenario is on a sales page, there's like a redirect to one of your competitors, or on a learning environment, it's like a redirect to teaching something totally different. So the control and the redirect is the number one reason why YouTube is not a viable candidate for the video platforms that we're talking about for the purpose of sales and learning platforms. The other one is the embedded on a funnel. Well, actually, that YouTube is good on that. So must-haves are embedded on a funnel page, control the end to redirect, and the light watch analytics. I'm curious, Susan, can you think off the top of your head, did I miss any that you can think of right away that you're like, what about this one?
No, this is, all of the issues that I've had with things, all were in one of these categories. So
awesome.
Right on there with you.
Cool. The other ones are nice to haves. Which are, it's really nice if they might have some interaction or some additional search feature capability, or some additional, like I can edit the video right on the platform capability, or advanced analytics is always nice. Okay. There is a whole slew of things that I didn't include in here, but we're going to talk in more depth. And that's about the payment structure and how the video management works in terms of storage and uploads and downloads, which can incur a lot of costs, especially if you are in tight crunch time situations, which we'll talk about. But for now, these are the must-haves and the nice-to-haves, and we're going to evaluate these platforms on these things. So I will say that all 6 of these platforms, they all have the must-haves. So because to me, they're not a viable candidate if they don't have the must-haves. So all 6 of these platforms, they have the must-haves. They do it a little bit differently, but they all have the must-haves. Okay, so let's go into Vimeo first. And the first one, we're going to evaluate each one of these on ease of use, price, funnel integration capability, customization, and delighters. So in terms of Vimeo, I do have a little bit of a bias towards Vimeo because it was my first choice. It was the first one I dated, and it's just got a special place in my heart. So, and because it does have some legacy things, meaning I have a crap ton of videos on there already. So I wouldn't want to abandon ship just because I have so much out there. So, with some of my clients that I have different contracts with, I have hosted some of their videos just because they really only needed like to host on a sales page or something like that, right? So this is the Vimeo interface. You're seeing it now. And Vimeo is interesting. They're trying really hard, I think, to go after this like indie film, like indie Netflix experience, which is just interesting because it started off as just, a video hosting platform. And it might go without saying, but let me just make sure we're on the same page. The reason we need these video hosting platforms is because the ability to stream videos through the internet is not an easy technical task. So all of these platforms have specialized in their ability to stream videos into a web-based software, or a web-based experience. And so that's why these platforms have existed. It's not just to store videos, but it's also the ability to serve videos in all the different environments that are out there: laptop, phone, on Wi-Fi, on internet, in rural, in not rural, offline, online, right? Like there's all of these different in the wild conditions that you have to be able to serve video. And so these platforms specialize in that. So what you're looking at right now is the video interface. You can see, the thing I love so much about Vimeo, and this is actually a new feature, like as of this last, 6 months, is that they have like nested upon nested folder systems. And anybody who knows me knows like I love organization, and I love being able to like have folders upon folders so that everything has its place. And so Vimeo for me is just like, okay, it has a really nice organization. The other thing that's really handy with Vimeo is that if you're on a higher plan, you can see that my clients who are on higher plans, they can just simply add me to their Vimeo, and then it's really easy to switch between client accounts. So I don't just have to like log out and log back in. Now, some of my clients who are on lower plans, they don't want to pay for that extra user, which is totally fine. Then I do have to log out and log back in. And it's one of the nuances of Vimeo in that it does try to pick up your Google profile. And so if you are logging into other people's accounts as an agency, you have to be in incognito mode just because Vimeo tries to be too smart. But little nuance. But if they have the account, right, you can just come in here and you can just switch between the accounts, which is really nice. The other thing with Vimeo is that I'm going to go to one of our Geek Out videos. Is inside Vimeo in terms of the ease of use, right? It's incredibly easy to use, very intuitive, very easy just to pick stuff up. So, for instance, if I go to Geek Camp, oh no, we don't have any in there. We're still working on our video recording options. Let's see. I know we have some in the after party. There we go. So Geek Out after parties. And so you can see here, again, folder within folder. This was our first one, and here's all the days of it, right? And we have naming convention. It's really nice and easy in terms of publishing and being able to use. Vimeo does struggle a little bit with the same things that a lot of software companies struggle with, in that there's a ton of hidden features that a lot of people don't know about. Like, for instance, when we are embedding this, so that's one of the huge things in terms of funnel integration. When we are embedding this, I want to make sure that there's no like title or anything else, right? But I don't want to do that for every single video. So there is an ability to set presets with Vimeo, which is really nice when you're embedding, especially on sales pages. So I'm just going to open one of these up. And again, because I've been with Vimeo for a long time, they've tried to make it a little bit easier with settings over here. I personally don't like using those just because I find that they're a little bit more clunky. So I always go into advanced settings to edit things. And you can see it is nice. Like, I can immediately pick my thumbnail. I can change, the title if I need to. They just turned this GIF on, which is really fun, especially in like membership areas. If you want to add, instead of just like a boring thumbnail, it can actually be a GIF from your video, which is just, again, it's like a little delighter. That's a fun thing with Vimeo. I can control access. So on most membership sites, I would just hide this from Vimeo. But in this particular one, only the people who went to the after party got it. And so this was a very special link that only they got, right? And so that's really nice, just to be able to, they have a lot of access control options with Vimeo. And then you can also, if you wanted to, you could collect comments. We rarely do that, but you could collect comments on video. And then just easily save it. And again, all of that like just ease of use of being able to do everything I need to do on this video is all right there. And it's really nice. Here's the embed. And again, here's just a nice delight or ease of use. I have a preset for ClickFunnels. So all I simply have to do is that, and then it'll automatically, you can see it took away the title and the face and the stuff down below. And if I wanted to do speed control or not, it just automatically sets the video exactly how I want for all my ClickFunnels presets, which is just really nice. And then, of course, the most important thing, and I can also, if I really care about branding, I can, change the color to be Geek Out Brands, and I can take away the Vimeo logo, right? And so again, super important on sales pages to not have any of that distraction. I want them just to watch the video in a very specific way, and I want to control that, right? So it gives you a lot of control. And then here's the most important part, and that's I want the ability to control the end screen. And so this is here, I'm just going to put it at a thumbnail, meaning like they don't get access to my Vimeo world. They just can go, stop, and then reuse it. Now, I will say that I did have one client that we had some issues where they needed the link to be private. And Vimeo does have this like secret back door, which is probably like my biggest gripe with Vimeo, is they do have this secret back door where, if given a particular situation where you need the video link to be somewhat public, but on the end screen, you want it to basically stop, instead of stopping, it actually gives recommendations, which are like all your other Vimeo videos. So it's like this weird, to me, it's like a security breach, right? So again, it's like a very unique use case, but it is probably the one thing where if that use case came up, Vimeo would be an absolute not in starter. And it's in the case, actually, I know what it is. It's in the case where I want just the video to be like on its own page, and I just want to send a link to that video page. Vimeo doesn't have the option to not have anything else on that page. So you'd have to create a ClickFunnels opt-in, put the page in it, and that's the only way to get around it. Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. The other thing that it has is this thing called chapters. Now, Susan, this is going to bring back memories for you. And this goes back to that interaction, right? Because another one of the videos that we're going to talk about today is interactive. And so I want to talk about what that means in video world. So Susan and I worked on a project. It was an Ultimate Tango project. And I don't actually know if I have them in my account. And I don't know if I still have access. Let's see. So actually, I'll show you. So in your video, it has the ability to insert chapters. So if I wanted to have somebody say, like, jump to the 3rd chapter, right? We've seen this in YouTube. So I'm going to come into After Party, and I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to go, let's go May 5th. And let's say that this has 3 chapters of like, okay, here's the 3 ingredients, right? So the cool thing about Vimeo, again, is that I can actually make chapters in the video. So it has like easy reference ticks that people can go to. So I just come down here to interaction tool, and I'm going to come to chapters. And now if I wanted to make a new chapter, and let's say that I can go to the chapter talking about, this is your homework. Oh, and of course it's not gonna let me do it. I would basically say, this is your homework. And then I would put it right at that mark, and it would make a little tiny tick mark in the timeline. And when you hovered on it, somebody could come and they can click on it to go right to that spot. Right. So super cool in terms of being able to get people to interact, but also pretty rudimentary given what we're going to see with Voomly, for instance. Right. Okay, so that is Vimeo. Let me go back. So in terms of ease of use, I really have no gripes. I think there's a lot of hidden features that people don't know about, but as soon as I show them once, they usually totally can get it, and it's easy to use. So super great on that front. In terms of the price, I think the price can be really misleading. So people are going to come here and they're going to say like, oh, it's only $12 a month. Okay, no matter what you're doing, most likely you are going to need the $20 a month. And where they get you, and where all of my clients have had to like bump up to business really quick, is that they have weekly upload limits for how much video you can actually upload in a given period of time, and how many videos you have available to you. And that is where it can feel kind of nickel and dimey. Like if you're running a summit, or let's say you're doing a course and you need it launched in a week, right? You have all your content, you have to get up there in these like big sprints, and Vimeo will hit you, you know what I mean? Like you'll get stopped. And so back in the day when I used to do summits, it was like, okay, we have to start our Vimeo uploads for summits because there's a ton of videos, like at least 3 weeks prior. And I've had people have to like go out and buy new computers. Like it's just, so Vimeo hits this like really hard upload limit. But if you're uploading on just like a regular steady clip, it's not an issue. And you usually can get away with either the pro or the business. For the sake of what we're talking about today, I put it at the business of probably what you're in for is about that $50 a month. Okay. Final thing is with funnel integration, customization, you can't really do a lot of customization other than adding those chapters I talked about. Delighters, there's a couple with Vimeo in terms of like, let's say that you have weekly meetings and you are always recording those meetings and putting them up on Vimeo. They have this concept called groups, and you can embed those groups into like a membership area. So you don't have to upload every single video to the membership area. You can just embed these like group players, which are a nice feature of Vimeo. And in terms of funnel integration, CF Pro Tools has a really nice video or Vimeo code. So it can do the whole, like, when you come onto a sales page and the speaker's like, la, 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 but not talking, and then someone can click on it and the sound, it rewinds and the sound turns on. Really key feature on a sales page. Jamie has this really nice CF Pro Tools add-on that allows you to do that with a Vimeo video. So nice funnel integration. The only thing I would say is that if you are using Vimeo, it's really important that you use the embed code and not the share link that in the video element on ClickFunnels Editor asks you to, because we have found on older platforms that share link doesn't actually work. So embed, just use the custom embed the code. bada bing, bada, you're done. And then there's like one small little bug where you want to do the embed code. Let me just show you if you are a Vimeo user. You want to do the embed code from the top right and not from the left because they add padding on the one on the left. So you have all this header padding whenever you embed the videos, and it's just annoying. So here, don't take this link, go here to embed, and then you would take this code right here, embed code, not this one. Funny, weird nuance. But other than that, I'm a fan of Vimeo. I'd recommend it. It's great. Okay. Anything else that you would add on Vimeo front, Susan? Because I know you use it as well.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's Vimeo has been my go-to for recommendation for a paid service as well. So I agree with everything that you said. And yeah, it has some little quirks to it, but overall it's pretty consistent and reliable and a good service.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay, Wistia. Wistia is one that so when I first came into the funnel world, Wistia was the one that all the big guys used. And the reason they used it and the reason they claimed to use it was because of analytics. I personally think that Wistia is really expensive. So I'm just going to go to the price first on Wistia. So Wistia is $80. You'd have to get the Pro usually for most of the things that you're doing. So it's about $80, which feels too high compared to like when I was looking at Vimeo prices, which is $50. And you don't really get that much extra that you can work with from my experience. People were claiming that with Wistia, they could like see the exact point in a webinar, but I'm like, if you're going to get to that level of analytics, go get Webinar Fuel, like go get like a webinar tool. You know what I mean? Like it's so Wistia has been a weird one for me of why people like it so much. I recommend it just because I know that a lot of the big people use it, but I personally think it's overpriced for what you get. And then let me just show you, again, in terms of ease of use, I have no complaints. I do have a client that uses Wistia, and it's kind of one of those things too, where he had it before him and I started working together. And he just, no issues with using it. And so I was like, okay, let's try it. And I have had no issues in using it. I know it's super easy to use, super easy to dive in. Let me just dive in there and I'll show you the interface. I've had no issues with embedding. That all works great. And you do get analytics with it, but it's funny, we don't go back and relook at those analytics a lot. So it is what it is. But and you do have this live events thing. But again, like I rarely see people actually use that. So it's, it is what it is. This is a six-figure landscaper, Tom, great guy, great program. Really fun to work with all the landscapers. We built an app but anyway, so we've embedded these on ClickFunnels and we've embedded these on apps. And again, no issue whatsoever. I still can organize. It's not quite as slick as Vimeo, but it still allows me to do, I can organize things into content. I can import from YouTube, which I don't, is nice, I guess. So it's housed in one place. I can create, this is same, like Vimeo has channels, Wistia has channels. And I can do recordings, which again, this is them kind of getting into like a Loom market, which is interesting. But again, most of the people who use Wistia, they don't use that feature. They used Loom. So I guess if you wanted to experiment with the recording, that price point maybe starts to make sense because you do need a recording tool to record your screen, what you're doing. So, that extra $30 a month might make sense if you're using this for recording too. Again, you can tell in my expression of it, I don't have anything bad to say about it other than I think it's overpriced for what it does. And then again, you can come in here. So we can come in, we can look at the projects. And again, the claim was that it was really great on analytics. So let me just show you what that looks like. I think Vimeo has increased their analytics, and I think now you can still get a lot of the same analytics there. But you can see here, I can do last 7 days, what has been the view. I can see exactly, all of the play events. Again, you get all of this on Vimeo as well. And the engagement, which is again just kind of their average amount of time spent consuming the content, which is a funny number because it's like, well, what constitutes consumption? Like I'm just sitting here staring at my screen, but then like somebody can interrupt me and I go walk away. Does it still count as engagement? Mouse movement, exact example, but so it's a little bit arbitrary. And then if I did want to connect in with a conversion event, I think it could make that connection, but I think this requires a little bit more of just connecting all the dots in order for that really to be tuned in. And then again, all of these are the same data that you can get on Vimeo. So I think Vimeo beefed up its analytics maybe to keep, to bite into the Wistia market, but pretty much the exact same data that you can get on Vimeo that you can get on Wistia now. So again, don't really, I don't know if it's worth the price point, but it is a viable option out there for people. Susan, do you have much experience with Wistia or anything else to add on to that? Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I had stepped away, but I heard you because you're in my ear. I actually haven't used Wistia a whole lot. But like you, I've seen a lot of the bigger players use it. And I think it's just because probably the bigger players we're talking about, when they were starting their businesses, Wistia was the one to use. Like Vimeo was still kind of like unknown and maybe didn't have all the features that Wistia had at the time. So that's my theory anyway.
I think that's well said. Yeah. And just as a comparison, I can come here to, if I wanted to look at analytics, I would just simply click in there. And again, this is my whole library, but I could go into a particular library. And so you can see here, this is newer. Vimeo has really kind of launched into, user feedback. Good job, Vimeo. Really launched into analytics more. And now it's pretty comprehensive in terms of the data that you get with the videos. So I don't think in good conscience I would recommend Wistia anymore, but it is one that's viable out there if you guys are interested. Okay. And then we talked about price and we talked about, in terms of funnel integration, Jamie Smith does have a CF Pro Tools for Wistia that does the exact same thing as the Vimeo one. Same recommendation, use the embed code, not the share link, but great for funnel integration. No issues there. You can customize it. I don't think in Wistia you can add those chapters like you can in Vimeo. I haven't played with it enough to really know, but I don't think it has those features. And then in terms of delighters, there's really not any for my book. It's just, it's a pretty table stakes video tool. Okay. So let's go to Videolytics. This is an interesting one. Again, I'm just going to cut to the chase. This isn't one that I would necessarily recommend, but when you actually talk about analytics, I think that they're no kidding actually giving you really good analytics. So that is more of the delighters, and they can embed. I am having some issues, I think, with them streaming on a 5G network. And so I don't know if the streaming capability of Videolytics is as strong as the other ones. So again, I don't know that I would recommend it. But it is worth mentioning if you're really and I will show you guys this one, if you're really a data nerd. So, oops, that's not what I wanted. All right, let me dive into Videolytics. It does give you really finite levels of data, which is one of the things I do love about it. Now, if it does come to be true, and I'll keep you guys posted, that Videolytics is the problem on the streaming on a 5G network, I'll keep you guys posted, because that's like, it doesn't matter how many analytics you give me if people get stuck at like 10 seconds in, it's not worth it. So you can see here, like much more data focused right away. You can see it in the name, right? So this is a final webinar that we're doing. And again, if you're using this for webinar, you might want to look at Webinar Fuel instead, but you can see like it gives very, very detailed data, like second by second, of like when drops happen, when conversions happen, the skips, the rewinds, the audience. Like it is, if you're interested in data, then I do think it gives you much more rich data. I would say, though, if you are interested in this specifically for webinars, check out Webinar Fuel, and we would do a comparison between Videolytics and Webinar Fuel. I think Webinar Fuel would be a better bet for you because you can get the same type of data, but also then help with like very specific things that are for webinar engagement and repurposing, which would make it better. But in this particular case, we were going back and forth between webinar and a video sales page. So using Videolytics for that. So we're actually really super interesting. So because I'm not sure if Videolytics is the culprit behind this 5G slowdown, we're going to do a split test with Vimeo and Videolytics of the exact same. And so I'll keep you guys posted on what we find with that data. So, but anyway, Videolytics, nice piece of software if you're really wanting to dive into the detail and like refine a webinar. In terms of pricing, this is where, you would need to get that like 79 a month pro version. Don't know if it's worth it. It's a tough one. And this could be, you can see here the 200 gigs of bandwidth versus the 50 gigs of bandwidth. I'm wondering if that's the issue of the free account versus the pro. I don't know. I'll keep you guys posted. But again, a viable option if you're really interested in analytics. If you're only doing it for webinar, though, I would check out Webinar Fuel and compare the two. And then in terms of delighters, I would say that the biggest delighter is just that you can do a lot with the data in terms of like tweaking the webinar and understanding where people are at, where they rewind. And so you can tweak your webinar and always improve it. So, which is nice. Okay, here's one that I typically would not include on a video streaming software, but I have had such luck with one of my customers using Loom that it's a really, it's an affordable solution for people, because you have to have, usually if you're teaching something, you have to have something that records the video, right? And so if you need something that records the video, Loom is the absolute go-to. Like, it's amazing. And it makes it so easy. But then it started to have this option where I can embed a Loom video into a funnel. And I'm like, oh, by George, this makes this a viable video streaming platform. So all the proposals that Susan and I do, we Loom our walkthrough of the proposal, and we include that video in the proposal itself. So, and we've never had an issue with it. It's always been super easy to do. It's super quick. The whole process is really efficient. And so just from like an ease of use and being able to actually use it on funnels for the purpose of, we'll talk a little bit about sales funnels, but for the purpose of general communication through a funnel, be it a learning or a proposal or some other use, Loom is great. And so I love Loom. I'm probably on Loom 5 times a day. So just to show you a little bit about that platform, you can see here. So we can have libraries, and you can actually have different spaces if you're on different teams or different businesses. You can organize it. I will say organization is hard though, because it auto defaults into this parent, and I haven't got into the habit of like auto organizing it, which I need to do. And naming, they just incorporated an AI naming convention on the titles, which is like, oh my gosh, a game changer. Because you can see here that like my old videos, right? It was like some nonsense naming convention.
Like whatever your browser tab says and the date.
Loom recordings age, right? Like, it's so nonsensical. It's so hard. So Loom, in a really good move, great feature, job, guys. They added an AI tool that auto detects what you're talking about and auto creates a name, which is like one step, like probably like 5 steps better than just like the random name that makes it hard to find stuff in later if I am not diligent about organization. Which Loom is like, you know how we all have those like clutter drawers in our house and that you're like kind of ashamed of? Loom is like my clutter drawer. I'm usually so organized, but my Loom, it's not. It's cluttered right now. Yeah, like no naming conventions, no organization. It's horrible. Don't look. But it is super easy to use. So this one, for instance, is we were playing around with adding a subdomain on another tool that we were playing around with this morning with a client, but it's super easy. And now through their AI tool, they also have a summary and transcripts. It's very interactive if you did want to use it that way for a team, where you can add comments and you can add, parts in the video. So in terms of interaction for team communication or client agent communication, it's really good that way. And in terms of sharing on an actual funnel and embed, all I simply have to do is come up here and then I can embed, and I, bada bing, bada boom, I copy that code and I just do an HTML element on a funnel page or membership area, and it plays perfectly. No issue whatsoever so far. Streams great. It's awesome. So
I have something to say about that.
Yeah, do it.
Okay. So I have a client who recorded her entire course using Loom. Okay. And it was great. It was operating fine for a good year. And then all of her Loom videos inside of her course, they started to have a really long buffer to like start playing. And then soon they actually stopped playing altogether.
Oh no! Did you find out why?
I did. Yeah. So it had been 2 or 3 years since she had recorded the videos, and I contacted Loom and I was like, "Hey, what's up with this? I can't even, so you can also download your videos. So once you've recorded them and they've been saved into Loom, you can download them." So it was a live course. So I was scrambling. I'm like, "Okay, well, let's just download everything and get it uploaded somewhere else so we can keep your course alive while we're figuring out what's going on with it." And I couldn't even download them. It was like grayed out. And I was like, "Hey, what's up with this?" And they got back to me and they're like, "Oh yeah, after a certain amount of time, your videos like go away. Like they go like dormant," or whatever word it is that they use. And they're like, "Yeah, we'll like make it so you can download them again." But that's why they stopped playing in the embedded version. They stopped playing in the course, and I couldn't download them because it had been so long that they just like stopped letting them work. I don't know if that's still their policy. This was about a year ago that this happened. So just be aware that if you're recording something that is supposed to be like a long living thing, maybe use Loom to record it, but then download it and put it somewhere else.
Onto Vimeo. That is so good to know. Okay, awesome. Yeah, because it definitely is not a viable candidate then for like membership areas. Sales pages is fine because the chance of a sales page lasting longer than 2 years is slim to none.
Yeah, but it's like watched it once and it's like the video can die now, right? So great, excellent. Like I love Loom, but just take a second guess, or maybe ask them, because like I said, it was a year ago. Maybe they changed that. But like the person that I talked to, like they stated it back to me that it was like almost policy. So
and it makes sense. Okay. The purpose of Loom is more for like, let me shoot something and show it to you, right? Like I don't think they had a longitudinal goal with videos when they were first doing it. So that makes sense to me. And I'm sorry you went through that. And I'm so grateful you went through that. I think that's what I love so much about working with you. It's like we have, like the school of hard knocks of like, no, we'll put it through the ringer and tell you the truth. So that's awesome.
Well, and credit to Loom that it like didn't get deleted without notice or warning, that it was still there. And they were able to like reinstate its activeness once I reached out to them. And then I was able to download all of them. So thank goodness, like my client didn't have to go re-record everything like immediately, right?
But you would have had to like download all of those, upload them to Vimeo, and then re-add them into the content.
And I did, and that's exactly what I did. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. That is awesome to know. Okay. So great. Awesome. Love it. In terms of price, of course, it's like $12.50 a month. So again, that's why I love it for beginners, who are just starting, who can't really like the video platforms are expensive. And I think that especially if you're like coming from a Kajabi where you're so used to it just being embedded, you can't do any of the stuff that you can do, but it's just on the platform, right? That I think it's hard to stomach the video price. And so Loom is a really nice, viable alternative when you're just getting started. Okay. Having said that, actually, now that I'm here, so most of you guys at this point, with what I just said, you might be saying, well, 2.0 has an embedded video option, right? Okay. Yes, they do, but it doesn't work on sales pages right now. And it is still fairly unreliable and kind of clunky on even like membership areas. So it's still kind of one of these like, the promise is there. We're hoping that it's going to be there, but it's not a viable option yet. Unless, Susan, have you heard anything else on that front?
No, I haven't.
Okay. We're hoping it's there. But right now you do need a video hosting platform if you're going to use 2.0. And obviously
I think
have one.
Yeah. So like the thing about 2.0 is you can upload your videos if you're going to be using them specifically in lessons. But if you have intentions of using it on a sales page, you're not going to be able to grab that. There's no like embed it on sales page. There's no like selector to choose the video to have it show on your sales page. So that's the only thing we have in our tester membership area in 2.0 that we did for Geek Out that isn't really live. If you're not in there, don't worry, you're not missing out on anything. It was like our testing ground. All of the videos that I have in there were direct upload to 2.0, and I think they were all working fine. That was also a while ago, so they may have made some changes to it. So
yeah. Yep. Well said. Which brings me to the second to last one, and that is Voomly. Voomly is one that both Susan and I are super excited about. It is like the great promise, right? And of course, like it's one of Russell's companies. I'm pretty sure that it probably is going to be the one that, if you are serious about video on 2.0, maybe the reason they haven't supported the video on sales pages is because Voomly is right around the corner, right? And Voomly would be on the platform, and that's what you could use. The reason I'm so excited about Voomly, beyond it being endorsed and owned by Russell, is that it has the promise of interactivity, which opens up a whole new door for us. And if you look at, I think you're going to have to do the Voomly Cloud if you're going to be doing the things that we've been talking about in this presentation as a comparable feature set. So it's $49 a month. But if you're just starting, $19 a month isn't bad. So, but even at $49 a month, it still undercuts Vimeo, which is super smart on their part. And it adds this whole interactivity piece of it. So let me show you. Again, we've just started to play with it. And do you remember how in Vimeo, I talked about how we can add cards? So this was a Tango project that Susan and I did where somebody would listen to a video, and then in the Vimeo version, I added a card for the place in the video where, okay, you listen, and then you can see there the like slide change where now it's time for your turn, right? So in Vimeo, I added a card so people could jump right to that spot of each of the now it's your turn pieces, right? Which was exciting. But I was trying to experiment with Voomly to say, instead of it auto going into the homework, right? Could I experiment with adding an interactivity layer on top of it to be like, how confident do you feel right now? Do you want to go into the lesson, or do you want to listen to it one more time before starting, right? Cool little technique on interactivity. And then even after they did the first assignment, be like, hey, how do you feel? Do you want to do it again, or do you want to go to the next step, right? So really cool just in terms of like feedback loop with learning. And so I'm excited about this product. I will say though, from like an ease of use standpoint, there's a little bit of a learning curve. So what I have gathered is it doesn't have any editing option on the platform itself. So the way that the interactivity videos work is, so that you saw that one video, right, was the video that I would want to do. So in my mind, I would want to come in here. First of all, it's like customized funnel, which is just funny to me that it's basically like funnelizing video experience, but that's great. It's Russell's world. So in my mind, I would want to like chop this video up right here. As far as I can tell, that's not possible. So I would need to like be chopping this video up into the pieces in some other tool. Surprisingly, we've actually done a lot of video editing in Canva as a quick fix for this kind of stuff instead of a video editing software. It's just fast and it's easy, and it creates good enough video, which is great. Which is normally like that 740, 750, or P, so which is great. So anyway, so I would hope that they would have like an editing ability on here to be like, okay, insert interaction at this point, right? That's my mental model of how this should work, but it doesn't. So based on what I can tell is you would actually have to break this video up into the different videos for the interaction, and then load all of those videos and place them in an order here, and then you connect the dots between the videos. So, and then you would come here and you could, so you add interactions, right? So, which is again, super cool. And if you look at other interaction-based video software out there, because I've been kind of dancing around this fiery bush for a little while, they're hugely expensive, and they also have a really steep learning curve. So the fact that Voomly is offering this to us, in addition to being a video service on top of ClickFunnels potentially, it's exciting. Like I'm excited about this product. So in here, right, you could easily like add a grid or a survey, which survey is probably going to be the biggest reason or the biggest element, right? So then it's like, okay, I can do this. And then like, if they click option 1, where do they go? And this is where you would have those secondary videos that I would take this video and have to chop it up and then go. So, all that to say, I almost think that there's going to be an entire workshop. Actually, maybe our workshop tomorrow could be about Voomly. But an entire workshop of how you can use Voomly in your funnel world. Be it a sales page, I think it's an awesome opportunity for a lead gen. Like it brings survey capability to a whole nother level, which is really exciting. You can also use it as like a testimonial. So right now we do video ask as a testimonial option, but I think that Voomly potentially could replace it, maybe. And so anyway, and then of course in like your learning experiences, it's huge for the end of what you just taught to be able to get them into the right place or onto the next video that they need or onto the right next behavior action thing that they need. So all that to say, we are still early in the game on Voomly, but we're excited. Actually, one of our clients is going to use Voomly, and I think we're going to use it for Geek Out. So we will report back, but I do think that it is a viable alternative. And if you are just starting in the video game, it is the one that I would recommend. It's a little bit risky because it's new, but I think if you're going to put your money down and in that vein of, I'm going to back a horse and I'm going to try to use it as best as I can, I think it has all the right ingredients to be the video service platform of choice. So that is where I'm at right now with Voomly. Would you add anything on to that, Susan?
No, definitely. I haven't even really used it for loading videos yet, so I have nothing to say about Voomly except for that I'm excited with what I see is possible, and I'm excited to use it for our own stuff and see how it goes. So yeah, we'll definitely report back.
Yes. And it's cool that just in the analytics, like a little bit of viewing, heat maps, and geolocations and devices, just like what we saw on Vimeo. So super exciting. Yeah. Okay, there's one more in the mix that we have to talk about, and we have 4 minutes, and then we'll also do it fast. It's not going to do it justice, but it's worth mentioning. Searchy. Oh, this one just drives me bananas because I want to love Searchy, but every single time that I get into it, I hit walls that I'm not able to overcome. So Searchy is Stu McLaren's product. The premise of it is that it auto transcribes all of your videos. And it pulls, the idea is like it pulls all your videos from YouTube and from Facebook Lives, and it's all one place. And you don't have to worry about, like, as soon as you're done, it just auto uploads into the whole platform. Bada bing, bada boom, it's there. So like right now, a huge problem that we have in Geek Out, not huge, but an annoying one is like, we're hitting the cloud wall or like the storage limit on Zoom. And so we do it to our local computer, but then it's stuck on our local computer and it doesn't always render, and then it's stuck, and then we don't get it out to our people. And that's not how we want to serve. And so Searchy was supposed to solve that problem, right? Where I could have Searchy connected to my Facebook Live and it auto sucks that video as soon as we're done with it. And then it's like in the library and it's available on the web. And so then you could share that link, or you could create a Searchy hub or a library that has all your videos, right? So, and it keeps going me back to price because I don't know whether I want to get it or not. So, because I have found it is difficult to connect those sources, and it does not work the way that, to me, it is marketed, and in that how I just described it, where as soon as I'm done with the live, Searchy sucks it in. That's not the case. It feels very manual right now in terms of how you connect the dots and you have to like upload videos up into it. So there's still the process of, I have a video and I have to add it to Searchy, and it's not automated, which again, it could be user error, but as far as I can tell, ease of use wise, I can't figure out how to make it automatic. And so that's an annoying part. The other thing is that the reason why I want to love Searchy, and Dan can show examples of this. He was going to join and share, but just something came up, and so he's not able to join us. I'm sure he can do a video of it. And I was just taking a quick look, and hey, Madison, and building a biz. Yes, yeah, he's raving about Webinar Fuel. Totally, Vimeo for Madison. Yep. So the other promise of Searchy is that if you are making a reference library model where I just have a ton of content and I need people to be able to search that content, we know that the search by default in ClickFunnels membership areas is never good. So we have Searchy that it can search not just like titles, but actually search inside the content of your videos. And it has this side widget that you can embed on a membership area where somebody could just do a search and it would search all of the videos in the membership area or all the ones that you have attached there and then be able to find it. Okay. Sounds amazing, right? And exactly what you need for a membership area, especially a reference library model area. The problem is that these widgets don't have very granular levels of access control. So let's say that somebody bought your library A, but not your library B. Well, first, you can only have one widget per membership area. So now it's like, okay, I can only have a widget on my library A, right? Or my library B. And the people who get access to my library A, I got to make sure that the videos in my Searchy widget are only for library A because the videos don't control access. Like it's just kind of a dumb, like it just shows you what videos are in the library, right? So it's this weird like access control issue that we keep coming into. And the fact that you can only have one drawer per membership area is problematic. And then it also, like if you go to Instaclub Hub, they have this thing called Searchy Hubs where it actually has all the videos embedded. And it's actually, I mean, it's kind of a slick little tool. But then of course it competes with our funnel hubs and our membership areas. And so like if you go to Instaclub Hub, which is if you're in the Instagram game, it's a great resource for you. I highly recommend it. But oh man, and they just redid everything, but they have a Searchy hub. And so you can see like, it's pretty slick, right? I mean, you can design it. This is a Searchy hub. It has a really nice like landing. It can, see who you are and where you want to start and what level you're at. And so then it's like, and you can see here, the videos are all in bed. It has this weird horizontal scroll thing, which isn't great, but it's all part of the strategy, right? And part of the hub. And if I wanted to search my entire Searchy library, and this is the power of Searchy, and I wanted to like link in bio, right? Which is one of the most common questions. When I search for that, it has this really powerful search, right? Where it's showing me all the instances inside of a video that talk about link in bio. So super powerful search, but it's the entire library. And it's inside of a hub and outside of a membership area, that you would build. So anyway, Searchy is one of those ones where I will keep you guys posted. I feel like it has to fit into our world somehow because of the power of the search, but it is so endlessly frustrating to me because I hit these walls that I can't overcome. So that is my take on Searchy. In terms of price point, it also is, I think, pretty pricey. He was selling like year-long membership deals that made it worth it, but if you're on the basic, it's $29 a month. The pro is $83, which seems like kind of what you need with a lot of this stuff. So that is Searchy. So all in all, to wrap everything up, I just did the price point comparison because to me, there wasn't, on the rest of them, there's not necessarily a clear winner. But the price point, I think, is the most interesting one for comparison. So obviously Vimeo and Searchy, Voomly at $83 a month is, again, because of that interactivity and that extra delighter, to me, it almost makes it worth it. And if you can get rid of your Vimeo eventually, and just use Voomly, I think there's huge potential there. And of course, Searchy at $49, which is interesting, but it doesn't have a lot of the capabilities. And in terms of just the flat table stake stuff, it's fine. But it does have the power of search. So it might just depend on your preference and what's important to you. At the end of the day, if somebody came to me and said, Andrea, which one would you recommend? I would have to go with this kind of combo. So I think you could, if you're just starting, go with Loom, get it done. It's the most universal and what you would need. If you are serious about video and you're just starting, go with Voomly because I think it has so much potential and it's worth the learning curve and learning that tool now. If you're a little bit bigger and you've been in the game for a while and you're already on Vimeo, just stay on Vimeo. It's good enough, but I would encourage you probably to like test out or keep your pulse on what we find with Voomly because it could be it could be an upset there. So, which is really exciting to see. So that is it. That is the summary of the video platforms. This was actually a request by a lot of our Academy members, and so we'll make sure that they get the memo. But anybody else out there watching, if this helped you, we'd love to learn. And if there's anything that we just like grossly misunderstood, we're always wanting to learn about the software and represent it the most honest way we know how. So that is it. And I think we're a little bit over on time for our hot seats, but which is super exciting because we got a lot of people coming in today for hot seats.
Awesome. Okay. All right. And then also let us know if there's another thing you'd like us to do a kind of comparison like this for, and we'll make it happen with the knowledge that we have. So thank you for joining us. We will see you guys tomorrow for Geek Out Live, and we'll see you then.
Yeah. See you.
Bye, everybody.
Awesome. Okay. Thanks, guys.